And the final point I want to close with is that this surah is a proof, historical documentation, 100% positive evidence for the reality of miraculous events. Okay, and I want everyone to understand this point very well. This is not something I found in the books of tafsir. This is a proof. The Quran is documented from one generation to the next, passed down. Okay, this event happened 50 days before the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ grew up with Abdul Muttalib, his grandfather, and the people that were alive when this happened, some of them were still alive. The father of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was alive, Abi Quhafa, because he accepted Islam very, very late. He accepted Islam very, very late. He was alive when this happened. People witnessed this in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, when somebody's narrating a story from long ago, right, that there was a prophet, his name was Nuh alayhi salam, and he was warning his people, and he was warning his people that there was going to be a flood. And so he built a huge ship, and then a flood came, and he survived in this huge ship, and all the animals and this and that. Right? People can say, well, that's a long time ago. How do we know that really happened? Right? People can question and say, how do we know that really happened? Right? We don't accept this just because you're saying it and things like that. But this event is different. The Prophet ﷺ is narrating a miraculous event that happened, and you have nobody at that time or from that generation onwards challenging this story. It's a very important point to remember. None of the Quraysh ever said, this didn't happen. What did they say about the other stories? Asatirul awwaleen. These are stories of the former peoples. You're just, you're hearing this from here and there and making this up or whatever. That's what they said about the stories of Nuh alayhi salam and the other prophets and this and that. Because they had no connection with it. This, they were witness to it. So when the Prophet ﷺ is talking about, he's reading this ayah, تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ, stoning them with these stones of hardened clay. They agree. They're like, yeah, we saw this happen. This actually took place. No one is challenging this story. This story of birds coming with stones, destroying an army of 60,000 people, nobody raised a challenge to this surah because they witnessed to it happening. This witness is passed down from generation to generation all the way to us. This is historical documentation of an event. The example I'll give is, let's say you have a battle that took place somewhere in World War II, right, on the front of between Germany or somebody. You have these people that are witnesses, and they documented what happened in the war. And then the historians go and they find these documents and they put them together and they recreate events that happened in the war. And we accept that 100% as fact, as history. That's what happened, right? This is the same thing. You have documented event, passed down generation to generation, witnesses that witnessed it, and when the person is describing this amazing event, nobody's saying, well, that's just a story, or that's just this, or that's just that. They're saying, yeah, we know that took place, that happened. This is the exact same thing as a historian documenting a war, what took place on the battlefront based on a witness of this testimony, that testimony. This is the exact same thing. This is documented proof from history of a miraculous event taking place, 100%. This surah has this much strength. But obviously people are going to try and find ways around it. But when you get to the bottom of it, it's the exact same thing. How do we prove that this is what happened in a battle that took place in Germany? Well, based on this documentation, such and such person said this. This is how the process we did it, and then now it's in the history books. Now it's taught as fact. Correct? This is the same thing. This took place. It's documented. It's passed down. Nobody challenged it. This is fact. 100%. This actually happened. An army of 60,000 people came. Allah sent birds, they dropped stones, they broke out, their skins dropped and everything. This took place. There should be no single shred of a doubt in our minds. If we can read history books and accept what's in there, because of that level of documentation, this is a higher level of documentation. Because the way the Quran is passed down is much more, has much more strength than other historical documents. It's passed down verbally and written, so on and so forth, right? And there were people at that time who are witnesses to the event taking place, and none of them are saying, oh, that's just a wild story or this and that. But the other stories, they said, oh, asatirul awwaleen, stories of the former peoples. But this, they said, no, yeah, we know this happened. We were up on the mountains, we saw the birds, we saw the people, we saw everything happen. So this surah in itself is so miraculous that for us in our times, it's 100% documented proof of miraculous events taking place. And we should always remind ourselves of this and remind others of this as well. Especially when people become weak in their faith. You say, well, if you read a history book, you'll accept this. You have to accept this as well. This is much more strength in documentation, right? This is much more firm, or your belief should be much more firm about this event taking place because it's the same thing. The documentation is done the same way. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in understanding the surah, to to give us a deeper understanding of our salah, inshallah, when we use this surah, and to get the lessons from the surah and to be able to move on from there, inshallah.